This is just squad lower.
Say it perfectly.
Rising in the dawn, the sun took orders. Faith in the veins like the blood of the morning.
Hey guys, this is Nat,
And this is Jess.
and we are both coaches here at Big Lick CrossFit, and this is the next episode on our podcast as a tool for hopefully you to be able to use in another way that we can serve you, which is what we're ultimately trying to do.
Yeah.
So today we have a lot going on, a lot to talk about. Before we jump into that, high-low buffalo.
High-low
Jess.
buffalo.
High-low buffalo.
I'm excited to start this. I've never heard of high-low buffalo before.
Yep.
We're going to do it today.
So, high-low buffalo, random thing in your week, or funny thing in your week,
Oh, there's
in
lots of us.
any order.
In any order.
Yeah,
I'm
just
gonna
let
go-
us know which one.
The correct.
That could be confusing.
My low is actually my high. Could be in some weeks. All right, I'm going to go in the order. The high, low, and then the buffalo.
Okay.
So high, last week we talked about like Hollyman, right?
Mhm.
And I did it by myself and it was terrible. And I struggled through it.
This is why I wanted to know
Yes.
which one it was.
Yes.
That sounds like a low.
Well, I guess, yeah, but wait on it.
Okay.
So that
Fair.
seemed like a low. That's how life goes, right? Sometimes that seems like lows are actually turn out to be highs. But anyways, and I was praying like not to break my collarbone because my form was so bad. Fun joke, I told her that when I die before her, she should put on my tombstone that she was a nice girl but terrible at power clean. Anyways, back to Hollyman, right? I did it Saturday because I thought I wasn't going to be here on Tuesday. Turns out my appointment had to be moved. So God said, come again. And I tried it again, the hero workout on Tuesday. And it was
So you did hero workout twice 1 week.
twice in 1 week, which is not, well, you did
Just
like
keep
100,
moving
you did
forward.
100 and 100.
That doesn't matter.
Anyways.
Continue.
Anyways, I did it again. And I was like 7 minutes faster, which is to me like just
That's insane.
yeah, and then not because I was any better that day, but just it was grace. So I'm thankful for that, and I'm thankful for grace would be my high for the week. Low would be we have a psychotic dog that barks all night long. It is ruining our sleep. Dog is ruining my life. I'm just kidding. He's not ruining my life, but he needs to get it together. So that's the low.
Right.
Buffalo. So I need to start writing stuff down that my kids say because I think I could have a whole book on it. But we were talking before bed one night about like bones and muscles and like what they are. And Hannah says, "You don't have a bone right here pointing to the top of her nose, right?" I was like, "Yes, you do." I said, "I broke it one time in a competition." If you don't know, that's why my name is Intabar and Nose to Bar. So I broke my face in front of a lot of people in a competition. But that's a story for a different day. And she just stares at me blankly, and then she says, "What the heck?" And then Abby Jo goes, "Yeah, what the heck?" And then I laugh uncontrollably, and she says, "Mom, your laugh is sick." So it just keeps
It's gonna
going.
be the coolest girl ever.
Yeah, something. So,
Sick laugh, mom.
yeah, if that's not a buffalo, I don't know what it is. All right, Nat,
Oh,
you're
that's
up.
amazing.
I love buffalo.
All right, high, low buffalo. So my high and low are actually like intertwined. I went to my level 2 last
Yeah.
weekend, and anyone who has done that knows exactly what I mean.
Yeah.
Because on one hand, it was great, and you get to develop your coaching. You can tell that you're getting better. You can tell that someone's investing in you. On the other hand, it is 2 days of being told why you suck.
Yeah,
And,
it really is.
and it's exhausting. It's 2
Yeah.
days of just
Mentally, at
learning how much you don't know and how much
Yeah.
you need to improve. So they're very much intertwined. I'm very thankful I got to go. I love that I got to go. I feel like really excited about learning new things. But it was also, I was counting down until I was done. Like it's an exhausting experience. So
Yeah. I would
those
agree.
are my high and the low. And then my buffalo
Yes.
also happened while I was out of town.
Yes.
Jess will tell you she is often concerned for my safety.
For legitimate reasons. You're about to find out why.
So I love pho, like the Vietnamese soup, and we don't have any great places here in Roanoke. They're not bad, but not great.
Unless somebody wants to send her some.
Yeah, and that can send me recommendations because I love this stuff. So I'm out of town. I'm right outside of Raleigh, North Carolina, and I was like, man, I bet bigger city they probably have some bomb pho out here. So that's as far as my brain goes. I pull out my phone. and I'm Googling reviews on pho places, and I find this one that has great reviews. Again, as far as brain goes.
That's all you need.
And
One
so-
great review from Thelma.
So I put in my GPS and I start driving and I pull into like this sketch parking lot. And if you've ever been to like a good pho place, it's pretty similar. So I was like, yeah, this is gonna be good.
Yeah.
And sketch little building, it's like part of a strip mall. I am zoned in. I am not looking at anything else except getting my Vietnamese soup. And I walk inside, it's a sketch building, walk inside, and all of a sudden it's so nice. Like chandeliers, red velvet, like curtains and tapestry,
Yeah.
red carpet.
Great sign.
And I was like, this is not what I expected or normal. But they have my to-go order ready. I'm happy. I grab it. I walk outside, and now I can kind of observe my surroundings because I have like the packages here. And I look over, and it is literally attached to a gentleman's club.
All right, in case you didn't hear that, she said gentleman's club, which is code for stripper's joint. Yes.
But in fairness, it was some of the best pho I've ever had. It was
Okay.
so good.
It's not
And
just
I didn't stay there. I left. I got my car. I was safe. I was in my hotel room studying while I was eating. But yeah, so I accidentally got stripper soup.
the best strippers.
Accidentally.
Accidentally. Yeah, she sent me a video of like panned over to the gentleman's stuff. She said, "Oops." Natalie.
It was really good. I regret nothing.
Oh,
So, hello, Buffalo.
okay.
All right. Back on subject. So, like we said, a lot to talk about today. We're going to talk about scaling. We're going to talk about stimulus. We're going to talk about humility. Got a lot packed in here.
Yes.
Yes. So, starting off, first, what is scaling?
So scaling is modifying either weights or reps or like a skill, like a gymnastic skill. And we could be modifying up or down, but it's changing it in some way to make your workout appropriate for you.
To meet the stimulus.
To meet the stimulus, yes.
Which we'll go over.
Yeah.
Okay. So that is scaling. I like that you said up and down, so you can make it less or more.
Mm-hmm.
And that's going to hold on to that point because we're coming back to that.
And it's still called scaling.
So knowing what scaling is, I think there's a big misconception that scaling is just for beginners.
Yeah.
Would you say that's true, or do you think scaling can be for beginners through elite athletes?
Yeah, it's absolutely untrue. And I think that's where the big stigma comes from, where people are kind of resistant to maybe scale. But it's not for beginners. It could be for somebody who's coming here for 10 years, but they want to focus in on a particular skill or a deficiency or something to work towards their goal that they had made. If you watched our goal making podcast, or like we said, it can be to scale up to increase the intensity in some way, but definitely is not just for beginners. It can be used very helpfully for beginners, but it's not just for them.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I think as soon as you say that word scale, there's some people that like throw up the X and are like, I can't do that, you know. But that also hits a little bit in humility and making sure that you have the humility to know when you need to scale and that it doesn't always have to look exactly like your neighbor in the workout.
Yeah, that's hard. Humility is hard.
Yes.
Especially if you're in something like CrossFit is similar. It can be a sport. It is a sport for some people. And ego can drive a lot of sports if you're not careful. So humility, it's a good quality to have and can be beneficial to you.
It's absolutely beneficial.
Yeah.
Always beneficial. So yeah, I love that. So let's talk a little bit about, now that we know that we're talking to everyone, this is not just for beginners, this is for elite, intermediate, beginners. So if you're just starting CrossFit, if you've been doing CrossFit for 10, 15 years, still applicable to you.
Yep.
So understanding that, why is scaling beneficial? Why is it beneficial for beginners and elite athletes? Kind of break that down a little more.
Yeah, for sure. And I like just, this is even our notes, but like how CrossFit is for beginner to elite and everybody, for grandma to, you know, super fit 30-year-old person. So with that in mind, there's some things that you can use scaling to do, like to practice a skill, right? So if you see a skill in a workout that is specifically something that you need to be working on, you can kind of scale some of the weights or scale like a portion of that skill to make you be able to do it with enough reps and enough intensity to see your results from it. What do you think about like, is scaling beneficial for developing strength?
Absolutely. I'm a big believer of time under load
Yeah.
and like keeping tension. And so what that means, if you don't, if you didn't quite follow that term, sometimes being able to do 10 to 20 reps under a lighter load is a lot more beneficial than breaking it down to singles all the way through.
Yes.
And again, that comes down to the stimulus of the workout, which we'll get to in a moment. But if you know that you can hold on to a bigger set or struggle with the heavier weight, I would say it's beneficial to do that lighter weight. You're going to stay more time under tension. You're going to build the muscle memory. You're going to build that strength a little bit faster and probably reach those goals a little bit faster while holding better technique through it. Like
Yes.
you're learning better muscle memory with those lighter weights staying under tension.
Yeah, I like that. Which kind of makes me think of like the consistency thing. Can you touch on like why it's important to like meet standards and we're doing CrossFit as far as certain movements and being able to have certain mechanics before we get into like the stimulus stuff?
Well, yeah. Well, first off, I mean, your mechanics are going to get shot the heavier you go. Like that's just, it's harder to hold them. So the more practice you have with the better technique and the better movement patterns, the more likely you're going to hold on to those better movements and when you get into heavier weights. And that's going to be a lot of injury prevention. It's going to be higher success when you are trying to PR, you're trying to get into those heavier weights, you're trying to move into that next zone. So, practice, you have to practice the little things first in order to have success in the big things.
Absolutely. And I think you'll still see professionals use a barbell to practice movements.
Yeah.
So I think
My favorite snatch and overhead squat warm-up was from Tia Claire Toomey, and it's all empty barbell.
Yeah.
All empty barbell. It's like a 10 to 15 minute warm-up, empty barbell the entire time.
Yeah.
Practicing technique
From
the fittest woman
ever. We'll probably ever see. Yeah. So it's, if she's using empty barbell, we need to be doing that, or even a PVC pipe sometimes to be moving with consistency or with mechanics, and then we add consistency, and then we're going to talk about stimulus and intensity here. So I think what came to me when we started talking about like scaling, the biggest thing that stuck out on my mind is meeting a specific stimulus, which I think we don't hit enough of when we're talking to our athletes about like what to choose, and maybe we want to equip you with the ability to think about this yourself and also talk with us about how to hit a stimulus. So you want to talk about stimulus?
Let's go into it.
All right.
Deep dive.
We're going to get real deep later too. All right. So stimulus helps to make sure we're meeting the appropriate intensity and the right variance, because both of those are important for getting results for what we're doing. We're not coming in here and just going through the motions over and over and then expecting to see the results. So we need to get intensity, which comes after we get those mechanics. So once we've got mechanics down, your coach is going to help you push the intensity a little bit through moving heavier maybe or faster. And then we need variance. So that means we're getting different stimuluses, working different energy systems in our body, working different muscle groups. And if we fail to get the right stimulus, we're taking a chunk out of our fitness that's really going to be lacking. And what I mean by that is if you only want to come in and do super light weights in 30-minute workouts and never the heavy, short, fast workouts, you're going to miss your fitness because of that. You won't be well-rounded, which is, we're looking for general physical preparedness, right? GPP in CrossFit. So I feel like you miss that if you're avoiding certain stimuluses. What do you think?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it's like following a recipe, with salt and sugar. Like they might look the same, but if you put the wrong thing in, you're not going to get the result you want in the end. You got to follow the recipe the way that it's intended. And we have some very smart, intelligent people writing these programs with a purpose behind them. And if you don't follow the program, just like you don't follow the recipe, you're not going to get the result you want in the end. So if you're questioning that, well, did you follow the recipe? And so, like you said, if you're picking and choosing what days you come in, that's,
And the other thing
you want to be able to use salt and sugar, not one or the other.
That's true.
Yeah.
You need a little both. A little salt and sweet. And maybe you're still coming in each day, but you're choosing only the really lightweight. Like say we talk about like Grace sometimes, which is 30 clean and jerks, which is intended to be a heavier workout, high intensity, fast, like time domain. And say you only hit the really lightweight, you never really get heavier, and you just kind of miss the intended stimulus every time we do Grace. Or conversely, the other end, you go too heavy and you take like 1 minute breaks in between each lift. And you never really make it far enough along in the workout to see results that way either.
Yeah.
So I think there's kind of both there.
Well, that brings up a good point, because I think when people hear stimulus, intensity and stimulus, they think high intensity, high cardio is kind of like the thought. But going on a heavy weight, like doing a max deadlift or a max back squat, that can also be high intensity, because the amount of energy output you're doing to lift that heavy weight, that's also high intensity.
Yes.
So intensity does not always equal fast sprints, which I think is what a lot of people hear. They hear intense, they think sprints. But the stimulus of intensity can be based on a lot of different energy outputs.
Yeah.
So it could be sprints, it could be, the intensity could be a long cardio type day, or it could be heavy back squats, which is also a very high intensity stimulus.
And they're working different energy systems, which are important to have a well-rounded fitness and also prepare you for anything in life. So so just quickly, things you're looking for in stimulus is, what should the workout feel like? If it's something like Fran, the 21-15 of pull-ups and thrusters, you're probably gonna feel terrible afterwards. If you finish that like, oh, that was nice, then you probably
did it wrong. Absolutely did it wrong.
Think about the intended loading. Should it be a heavy load? Should it be a moderate load? Should I be able to do sets of 1 to 5 or sets of 13 to 20? You know, what's the intended stimulus? What's the overall volume you're supposed to be able to get in, and or maybe how long, like the timing, how long should this take you? So we've hit stimulus and why that matters with scaling. So now we're going to look at how to scale. So if I'm looking at the workouts for the week, what should I be doing to figure out how to scale my workout appropriately?
Well, first off, you're a paying member, ask your coach.
Yes.
Like, that's part of what you're paying for. These are educated, well-practiced professionals. They should be able to help you. So, and also, speaking of humility, it's good to ask for help. Because they probably have the resources that, again, you're paying them to have. Ask for help. Ask your coach what you should be doing, and they should be able to help you. But within that frame, also maintaining movement patterns. I know we've talked about this. Like, you don't want to be doing something entirely different where you're, again, not hitting the right movement in the stimulus. So still trying to get those same movement patterns. The movement might not look exactly the same, but you want to get the same movement patterns.
So sometimes what she's talking about is sometimes we'll take out a movement itself instead of changing like the weight or like the skill level. We might change the movement itself. Maybe it's because of an injury or a certain goal. But if you change the movement in a way that takes away from the original design of the movement pattern, and it kind of takes away from the stimulus. So can you give an example of how you modified a workout for somebody?
So we had a class where we were working on power cleans, and they were meant to be light to moderate. We were working on the fast pop of the hip, and we had an athlete who couldn't use their arm for whatever reason, and so rather than pulling out a dumbbell where they're just working on one side, because that's still not quite getting that we were trying to practice. So we're still trying to work on that same movement pattern of a hip pop. So we moved to a seated box jump, because then you're working on that big explosive hip. The movement pattern is still the same of what we're trying to practice, but we took the arm out entirely. And so it still was it working toward the goal of what we were trying to do, increase and improve power and technique in a power clean. Yes. Then it still was appropriate.
There you go. Yeah, I like that. Natalie's got some good background on adaptive stuff and how to create similar stimulus with different scenarios, where there's injuries or an adaptive athlete or something like that.
And I would like to put just a little plug in here, just a little clarification, that just in case anyone's listening to this, short and long-term injury, if you have a short-term injury or you are not able to do a movement because of fitness level, that is scaling. But if anyone's listening and they have a long-term injury where it's like, this is a permanent thing, that would be adapting. And then we're going to modify the workout or modify the movements for something that's functional for your your lifestyle. But that's another episode. But just so that's clear, just in case there's someone listening, that would be an entirely different thing. That's not scaling anymore. That is modifying and adapting.
Yes. I like it. And the one last little thing we had here for how to scale, it's good to vary your options. You'll see stuff in here that we vary on our own, but the example would be like a pull-up, right? If you can't do pull-ups and ring rows is an option, you don't necessarily have to always do ring rows. Ring rows can be very good, so don't just avoid ring rows, but there's some different pullings at different angles that we can use to get a different, achieve the same stimulus but through different movement.
Absolutely. Again, are we practicing technique? Because we can even be working on kip swings. It depends on what your goal is and building strength. But changing what that scaled option is depending on what your goal, which is why it's good to have a goal.
Yes.
You don't want to come in and just be doing whatever is put in front of you, because then you don't know why you're doing it. That's the very first thing we talk about. Know your why. And so if you have a goal, you have a why, that's going to help you keep that variance in there as well, because you want to be working toward whatever goal XYZ it is.
Yeah, like that variance is important too. All right, so we've gone through like why to scale, stimulus, and why that matters, and hopefully that kind of hits home. We're going to talk about some different programming stuff we have coming up, and that will be relevant to stimulus. Before we get to programming, I want to touch briefly on like the humility thing, because when Natalie was sending me some notes on this, she made a note that humility is pleasing to God. And I love that so much, because I think it's so true. And I think we have something to offer to God through our efforts here. We had the opportunity, we studied Romans 12 before our competition a little bit. It just kind of came to our mind as something we should do. And I love it. And it begins, Romans 12 begins with, you can offer your body as a living sacrifice to God. Like back in the day, they had to sacrifice animals. Thank the Lord, we don't have to do that anymore. And that could get messy and ugly. But we can offer ourselves as a living sacrifice through what we do and how we come in here. But we need to offer our best, which I've been trying to like grow in that and figure out like what does that look like. It's can be tricky because you don't always feel your best, or you walk out of here like, man, I really didn't do my best. I don't feel like I offered a whole lot. But like God knows what you're capable of that day. Maybe you had a psycho dog that kept you up all night. You know what I mean? And that was the best you could offer today, and He can be pleased with that. But what can contaminate our offering is like our ego and that pride. When I make decisions, you might decide, am I scaling up or down based on what my neighbor's doing, or like, just because I want to look better, So it can sneak in there and kind of contaminate our efforts if we don't have that foundation of humility, I think. I don't know, what do you think?
Oh, I agree. And we've talked before about how psychology and the way that God created us, the study of psychology specifically, and how God created us, how they're so blended together. And you can see when you act in humility, maybe your ego's been hit, there's two responses. When you act in humility, you work harder to become better. Like you kind of work through that, and ultimately it's more beneficial to you. But if your ego's hit and you respond, like you were saying, it can be driven completely by ego, and you respond negatively, it can be detrimental to you, and actually make your progress worse, and even make you walk away. And like responding appropriately, I'm still stuck in like my L2 from last weekend, because you saw so many people, our egos were all hit. Every single person in here, your ego's hit.
It will be.
And you could see on day 2 the people who responded with humility and were asking, I want to get better, I want to get help, and how much better they were by the end of day 2, versus some people who were frustrated and upset, and you could tell that it was more discouraging than anything, because there was no humility to ask to move forward. It was just a hit to the ego.
Yeah, and that's hard. Humility's hard.
It is hard.
But it's so worth it.
It's easy to talk about it, much harder to practice.
A lot of times when we talk about these things, I'm like telling it to myself.
Yeah.
You need to work on your pride. But when we talked about you doing your level 2, I knew you would be fine, because you were coming in with a heart of humility.
I was not fine.
Yeah. But like as far as that's concerned, like you get the most out of that when you come in with a humble heart. And somebody, I think it was like Ronnie or somebody, told me before my level 2, like just make sure you're humble, and you will get the most out of it.
Absolutely.
Same thing coming in here. Like work hard, be humble. All right. Anything else on scaling?
It's a lot. We squeezed it in though.
Squeezed it in.
All right, moving into programming. I am so excited. One, I've loved this bridge cycle but I'm glad that we are done with the bridge
It's over.
cycle. 3 weeks was the perfect amount of time
Yeah,
for the bridge cycle.
It is.
And then we have some big news coming up this next week. We're changing programming a little bit.
Yep.
We're going to have something new. You want to reveal what that is?
Yes, I will reveal it. And real quick, I like that you mentioned the bridge cycle and transitioning, because I know we had some people that really love it, which is great. But there is purpose on going back to some more traditional, strength and workout cycles, because you're going to increase your overall strength that way and hit some more maxes, which will help you be able to do workouts that have cardio and heavy lifting in it in the future. So
Yes.
I like that you mentioned that. So new thing, Thursdays are going to change some. I know we hit it really hard. Traditionally in CrossFit, people will do 3 days on, 1 day off, a couple days on, 1 day off, something like that. So we are going to change Thursdays to be an active recovery cycle workout.
Woo-hoo!
Yay! To make you feel better and help you be able to do heavier weights and higher skills and more intensity in all your other workouts. So what you will see over the next, I think this cycle is 4 weeks. The first part of class is going to be dedicated to a skill progression. And then the second part will be a active recovery style workout. And you're going to have some guidance on what your exertion should be. So this week it should be a 4 out of 10. And your coach can kind of help guide you through that and what it should feel like. But we're also going to focus on double unders this week. Because if you look at programming for the open, the most programmed movements I think are muscle ups and double unders. They've been in every open. After that, I think it's some pull ups and toes to bar and stuff. So if we're going to focus on a movement, why not make it double unders, right? Because there's room for growth for everybody. Either you don't have one at all and you're going to get one in the next 4 weeks, or you can do some, but you could be more efficient and make the rest of your workout easier. So
I love it.
Yeah.
I'm so excited. And then I had someone use this analogy for me when at another gym I worked at, we did the same process, and I thought it was such a great way to help people understand. But they were talking about if this was a car, you wouldn't wait until the car was dead before you go get an oil change. You strategically go get oil changes, unless you're Jess apparently. But
what is that? Okay.
You just looked like guilty in that moment.
I feel insulted on many levels.
But no, really, you think about it, and if you wait until your car has used up all its oil, all these other issues come out, and then it's you're dropping money in it, and it seems to never get better.
Yes.
But if you take care of it before the problem comes up. And so that's the idea with the active recovery day, is you're supposed to do 3 days really hard. You come in before you feel like trash.
Yes.
You do an active recovery day, so that Friday, you can come back at it hard.
Hit it hard again.
And you don't ever want your body to get to the point, I know we all do, and it's going to happen inevitably, but in an ideal world, you never want to get to the point where you wake up and you're like, I can't move, I don't want to move, I'm so trashed, and then you start having injuries pop up, and then once injuries pop up, it's once one's there, there's 7.
Yeah.
There's no just one injury. And so this is the intention there, is if you are someone who's coming multiple days a week, let your body recover so that you can come back harder on Friday and Saturday. Recover Sunday, do the process again. But if you're feeling great on Thursday and you're like, I don't know why we're doing an active recovery, that's why. You should feel great.
Yeah.
You should be waking up on Friday morning feeling ready to take on the next 2 days.
Yeah, and your intensity and your stimulus will be better hit. I will say there's some people who miss days earlier in the week, right? So Thursday doesn't necessarily hit on their recovery day. If that's you, we do have an option for you where you can come make up a workout during that class time, and the coach can help set you up in a portion of the gym if it's a workout that was programmed for that week already. If you're going to do your own workout, you can use the back room like always, but if you're making up a workout you already had your rest day earlier in that week and you want to make up a workout, then we can accommodate that. I think.
I love that, so that you still have options if you weren't able to make it another day. You can still come in and get a good workout on Thursday.
And I think it's easy to think about active recovery and you're like, I don't know what to do. I'm not going to do anything, or I'm just going to come hit it really hard again.
Yeah.
But now it's organized and we can take you through that to help you feel better.
Yep. Another tool.
Yes.
Another tool. I love it.
Good.
I'm so excited.
Yeah.
I love this idea.
I'm so excited because you got that. You got the open coming up. We're going to help you get ready for that. We got goals planned. I feel like we have so much good stuff going on in this place.
So that being said, last final thing from me, and then if you have anything, if there's anything you guys want us to touch on, any questions you guys have, especially with the open coming up, throw them at us. You can put them in the comment section, whatever, and we will try to address those as they come up.
Yeah, you should comment nice things.
Yeah.
No, like,
Poor Jen.
I'll
She's like,
come
yeah,
here.
ask your questions. Also tell us we're doing a good job.
yeah. I mean, you don't have to affirm us, but you don't have to be mean either.
Yeah.
Nobody likes mean people.
That's true. We're fragile.
You really are. All right, well, let it go.